Hey, what's up guys? Rev here. So today we have a couple different stories all involving anime and its forced injection of politics into subjects that have absolutely nothing to do with it. So let's not waste any time and let's jump right into the first story, which involves the series Onimai, or I'm Now Your Sister, which of course, if you're not familiar, involves a character that has his gender changed overnight. It is a quintessential gender bender anime where a character goes from male to female overnight thanks to a drug that he was unknowingly given by his sister. Okay, so some people have pointed out that the wiki pages for this anime have been doing a little headcanon in the description of the main character Mahiro. Now, it is important to point out there is actually two different wiki pages for Onimai. There's one with the Japanese version of the anime's name, and there is one with the English version. On the Japanese version, you can see the description of Mahiro's gender is accurate to the content of the franchise. It is simple, it is exactly right. Now, users have pointed out, if you go to the English version, you get this whole mess over here. So, whole bunch of word salad. The age description thing alone is crazy, describing how mentally and socially the drug is changing Mahiro's age, which is crazy, but the gender part is the main takeaway. It's a whole bunch of word salad that doesn't really mean a whole lot. So let's read it. Born perceived male, but probably with a female gender identity. Physically changed by means of continuous dosage of an experimental drug to become an anatomically correct teenage female, as well as suppressing masculinity. Now, that's a whole lot of words, like I said, to play to these people's headcanon. It's like, have you ever seen those Twitter accounts like the left can't meme, where in order to make a meme, they have to make multiple paragraphs to make their joke? That's what this feels like, where you have all these lines to describe a fictional character's gender when it can be summed up like this. Mahiro was a male who was given a drug by their sister unknowingly that overnight changed them into a female. Done. That's it. It is a gender bender anime and franchise. I mean, since when did the G in LGBT stand for gender bender? I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make light of this, but it's pretty goofy. And I have absolutely zero proof of this. It's just my intuition and what my experience has told me. I'm a professional in this realm. This has all the signature hallmarks of a Twitter freak. This is a Twitter freak who has access to the wiki pages and is making their own little schizo posts based on characters they want to find representation in. And it's absolutely ridiculous. This has been happening with multiple characters where the gender of the character is either up for debate or some people are trying to force a transgender identity to them. We saw that with the whole Bridget thing, but she is not the only character, and I say she because, yes, the creators of Guilty Gear confirmed it, and whether you like it or not, that is it. But long before they confirmed it, the wiki page had already made their own conclusion that Bridget was now female and trans. And it's that sort of I know what's best mentality to a wiki page, which is supposed to be raw information, is pretty crazy to me. And I always find it funny, like everyone bending over backwards on Twitter to make Mahiro a trans rep. It is crazy that they are making a character from a lolicon, Shotokan franchise the face of a trans rep. It's very strange. Normally those things get absolutely bodied on Twitter, those types of themes, but it's okay because they believe this character is trans, so they overlook the stuff they normally freak out about. And to make things worse, this isn't a good trans rep because it was not Mahiro's decision to become female. The sister in this story sneaks drugs, experimental drugs, into his diet that unwillingly changes him from male to female overnight. That is not a good trans rep. That is not a good story. Like, it's crazy to me. But yeah, good on people for pointing this out. It's good to keep an eye on these things. And yeah, don't trust wiki pages, because people will use these as a source when these debates come up on Twitter, and someone will cite this as proof that Mahiro is trans. Well, it's on the wiki page. Well, you now know that means absolutely nothing. So we're going to move on to the next story. This one is very interesting, and I'm going to approach it in the most sensitive way I can without, getting this video flagged or causing a lot of hostility. So in case you don't know, for context that we need, there was a mass shooting at a school last week in the US, and 3 adults and 3 children were killed by the transgender shooter. Now, this has led to very, very toxic discussions on social media. And here's my thing. I get the outrage, okay? I have seen people with great supports, including Twitter users and the media, trying to humanize the shooter and trying to excuse their actions because this was the only way they could express their frustration with society, and going as far as shaming and making fun of the victims, including 3 children. Like, I get the outrage. I have been sick looking at some of the ways social media has propped up that killer. But this is too far. So this journalist from Florida made this call-out post saying, days after the Nashville tragedy, a Florida parent discovered a graphic novel series depicting heroic misfit students shooting their teacher. There are dozens of copies in the middle schools of that area. Why do librarians think this is appropriate for 11-year-olds? And of course, this is Assassination Classroom, which, if you know anything about this series, you've already been chuckling at how unknowledgeable this person is of the series. Now, one thing that is absolutely hilarious is that it got hit with the fact check. The fact check system on Twitter is actually good. It used to be really bad and snarky, and now it actually seems to apply when it's needed in a situation like this. So when you get hit with that fact check, embarrassing. You know you made a terrible, terrible post. And in this case, it adds the context from the Wikipedia page describing the series, saying, Assassination Classroom is a manga published between 2012 and 2016. The plot follows a group of students who are tasked by the Japanese government with killing the alien entity serving as their teacher, as the entity will destroy the world at the end of the school year. So as the kind of intro into the series, this teacher, this otherworldly entity, destroys virtually all the moon, comes down, and is threatening to destroy the rest of the world if they're not stopped. And the Japanese government tries to stop. So this isn't like some innocent school teacher being blasted by students. This is not what this person's trying to make it out to be. And seeing some old boomers trying to have moral outrage over a manga series that is about 10 years old is, you're off to a really bad start. And I get it. Following this shooting, there has been some incredibly tone-deaf and bad-timed efforts that relate to the various issues. I don't want to get too into it. That's not the point. So like I said, I get some of the moral outrage, but using that to attack a random manga series that you clearly have absolutely no idea about is just absolutely goofy. And rightfully so, this person's getting dunked on in the quote retweets. And honestly, you'll love to see it. But moving on to the next story. This one's very interesting. So this post has caused so much controversy, it's kind of hard to believe. So it is a panel from Bocchi The Rock, and just pause for a second and read this to yourself. Read this panel to yourself. How does it read in your head? Well, that has been a huge debate that thousands of Twitter users have been brutally battling over. So here's the two kind of overall arguments, and then we'll get into the more niche stuff. Some people are saying that you have to read this left to right, like a normal Western book. Other people, the right ones, are saying that you read this right to left, which is the case with virtually every single localization of manga series, okay? You read it from right to left. This makes no sense. Anyone saying left to right, wrong. And it's annoying because people are reading it left to right to try to imply that saying a cosplayer girlfriend, that Hitori wants a cosplayer girlfriend and is gay. And people are cheering that on, which, by the way, whether Hitori is gay or not, I don't care. I don't think anyone really should care. It's not a big deal, but to be so ignorant intentionally to justify that narrative is goofy to me. It's silly. Like, you don't need to work that hard for a representation in manga. Find someone else. Or just don't take it that seriously. You know, or use your headcanon. If you want Hitori to be a lesbian, just think about it in your head. Like, I'm sure you'll have a good time with it. But the real debate, and this is one where I'm on the fence, is how you read this section. So, of course, you start on the right. I'm good at games. Aren't I a genius? I can become a pro gamer. Which one comes next is the debate. I genuinely don't know. I'm going to be honest. Maybe I'm a heathen. I'm unknowledgeable. But I can't really decipher which one's supposed to be first. And they all make sense in their own way, right? So, like, I can become a pro gamer, a cosplayer girlfriend, get a sponsorship. So basically saying in that version that Hitori will become a cosplayer girlfriend. You know, dressing up as a cosplayer, giving like a girlfriend experience type thing. Doesn't imply anything about her sexuality. But if you read it the other way, I can become a pro gamer, get a sponsorship, a cosplayer girlfriend. That implies that Hitori is interested in women. Now, here's the thing. Some people are desperate to read it the second way because they're desperate to find validation in their sexuality through a fictional character. I read it either way because the idea of Hitori having cosplayer Yuri sex is good enough for me, whether it's real or intended or not. And you know what? That is the difference between you and me. You need validation. I don't. And I just think that at the end of the day, if you read it one way, she becomes a hot cosplayer. You read it the other way, she's having hot Yuri cosplayer sex. And both of those are a win-win. So I think people are being a little goofy when they're either trying so hard to find a certain narrative in this, or they're getting upset one way or the other about interpretations. If you read it right to left, whatever route you go here, I think you're all right. And I think we'll all be all right. But the amount of drama this singular frame caused shows us one thing, that Bocchi The Rock is the GOAT. That's all there is to say. It's always relevant. It's not going out anytime soon, and I want more Bocchi The Rock. But now we're going to move on to the final story for today. There's been a lot of memes and green posts like this going around involving the character Ruby. So now it reminds me a lot of the homophobic dog memes. Like, I have to censor it here a bit, but you're probably wondering yourself, where is this coming from? Where are they basing all this dialogue for? You have memes also like this. Again, much like the homophobic dog meme saying it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. What is this homophobic route going on over at Rooster Teeth? Well, it has to do with a clip from the show, and basically reading or listening to what they say paints a very odd picture, especially out of context. Let's have a quick listen.
Gotta stay positive, right? Smiles all around. Maybe even finally get our feelings sorted out. Good for you, by the way. We're all so happy for you. Hey.
So basically, that is where everyone is getting those lines and using them to make various memes about Ruby. So with the context, I'm not a Ruby person, but I looked around and saw the context of this. Basically, Ruby is just kind of exhausted and having an emotional breakdown and is fed up with people not taking the situation seriously. But as you can imagine, that did not stop the memes, and honestly, they're pretty funny. So I support that. And yeah, always, the best route of anything is to make a meme of it. But nonetheless, before my voice dies out, we're going to call it a video here. I appreciate you guys giving this a listen. Please let me know all of your thoughts about these related topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.